but even Herodotus called the Negroes sorcerers. It is they who command the elements, and this they call magic. Hebel's labelling of Negroes as sorcerers, drawing, as he puts it, on, quote, the copious and circumstantial accounts of missionaries, is a forceful reminder of how the practice of magic was identified by colonising nations as the sign of Africa's self-incurred immaturity and its need for enlightened deliverance. Things Fall Apart was, of course, conceived as a counter-narrative to such misrepresentation, but the potentially irresolvable problem facing Achebe was how to represent traditional beliefs in a more positive light without demonstrating that African nations lacked maturity and modernity on the eve of independence. This paper argues that it was only by resolving this problem that Achebe was able to write Things Fall Apart. The artistic solution involved crafting a narrative perspective to effectively reconcile the traditional with the modern, while the political solution lay in placing the Igbo people, and by extension Nigeria and Africa, within the continuum of history, equipped to embrace the future without abandoning the past. Much was at stake then in Achebe's decisions on how to represent magic in his groundbreaking first novel. What is meant by magic is, of course, itself highly contentious. For secularists, it may well include any and all belief in supernatural forces. And Things Fall Apart exposes the irony of colonising Christians deriding one set of beliefs in the supernatural while celebrating another. Keith Thomas reminds us, however, that a strict separation between magic and religion was fundamental to Protestantism, which, quote, presented itself as a deliberate attempt to take the magical elements out of religion. And it was crucial for colonisers to maintain, as of course did Prospero, a distinction between facile and barbarous magic and their own practices. Hence, in Things Fall Apart, the missionaries persistently accused the Igbo of endowing, quote, bits of wood with magical properties, believing their success rested upon maintaining a distinction between religion and magic. Olufemi Taiwo, in his article Exorcising Hegel, demonstrates entertainingly how an entire set of prejudices rests upon this distinction. This is a quote. Ancestor worship, African. And religion, the rest of the world. Tribalism, African. Nationalism, the rest of the world. Traditional thought, African. Philosophy, the rest of the world. Simple societies, African. Complex societies, the rest of the world. Lineage division, African. And class division, the rest of the world. Order of custom, African. And rule of law, the rest of the world, etc., etc. The powerful narrative implied here is of a simple, magic-based world falling apart upon evolutionary exposure to a kryptonite combination of religion, law and science. Perhaps more effectively than any other single work, Things Fall Apart has undermined this dangerous set of binaries. Achebe achieves this principally through his handling of magic, is my argument, in showing how the Igbo nation had itself evolved through a constant practice of what Chima Anyadike has called a dialogic construction of the real, whereby magic is afforded a respectful scepticism. As a young lecturer in Amadou Bello, I was just talking about this, where I was from 1973 to 1977, I first read Things Fall Apart as the African Writer series had packaged it, a realistic portrayal of primitive African life tragically disintegrating when confronted by a superior culture and painfully progressing into modernity. It wasn't until much later, when I returned to the novel, that I became aware of my blindness to the subtlety of the text, in particular with regard to its handling of magic. Achebe sets a trap for those readers basking in advanced modernity that know better than to accept magic for real.